Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday Night Forum. Yes, it is Ray all alone tonight, but that's fine. Um, People cannot make it, I understand as well. So pull up a chair, everyone. You're all welcome to Arsenal Fan Circle and the Thursday Night Forum. Throw some things, chat box. Throw some things in the chat box, and we'll talk about them. Wanted to start out by saying we did it. We've been doing this podcast for 6 seasons now, through Emery into Arteta's reign, and finally, um, we can make it a big thing. It's got to become the norm. We have beaten Manchester City, so welcome everybody. We've beaten Manchester City. I'm not going to shout from the rooftops because we still have to maintain that consistency through the season and have injuries be kind to us as well. So that's going to be key. And I, for one, am happy about this interlull coming now. It's a perfect time for Arsenal, the fan base, and the team to settle down and get back into it when we get back to Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. You know, this last weekend started out with Tottenham beating the worst team in Luton Town and Arsenal beating the best team in Manchester City. Just think about that. There are levels to this thing. We may be level on points with that team. Our goal difference may not be better. They may have scored more goals, but I think sustainably we are a better team than Tottenham, and they are doing well under Ange. But we have, I think, timed the preseason really, really well to be able to be in a position where we faced Manchester City in the 8th week of the Premier League, and to be able to go up against them. It was a bit of a chess match, yes, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, Don Juan, it is a nice break. More time for our players to come back fit. We have a few injuries. Saliba's got a minor toe injury, and we know Bukayo Saka. One issue I have with Mikel Arteta is the use of Bukayo Saka in the 3 games coming up to Manchester City. But we can say now we beat Manchester City without Bukayo Saka. And, you know, that will help us in those internet arguments online when we're talking to Manchester City fans. You know, they didn't have Kevin De Bruyne, they didn't have Rodri, we didn't have Partey, who was injured for most of the game. Just came back in time. We didn't have Bukayo Saka, and so we didn't have Urian Timber either. So we beat Manchester City on merit. BX Gunner said, "Good evening, everyone. Welcome, BX Gunner. Hawkwind, thank you for joining and being here as well. Yeah, so keep me company. I don't think it'll be a long podcast. We'll do about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, as far as I can go by myself, let's say. Perfect timing. Don Juan, hopefully I can keep you entertained. I don't know if Tony's going to join me. It doesn't look like it. So you're down to the last man here. It's a nice break. More time for our players to come back fit. Definitely, Don Juan. And Gabriel is looking like a regular starter for Brazil now at the back. Recognition. You're playing in a good team. You're putting in good performances. And now he's going to get recognized by Brazil. If you play well for your club, you'll play for your country. In most cases, Ben White being one of the exceptions. They also should have had a man sent off. Don Juan, I think Kovacic, the first one on Erdegaard could have been a red card, as we know, by itself. The second one on Declan Rice, and the referee just bottled. Michael Oliver bottled that one. We know it's the same referee that sent off Gabriel Martinelli last season, maybe 2 seasons ago against Wolverhampton Wanderers. In what you'll never see again. You'll never see a full red card given for 2 consecutive yellows within seconds of each other. You'll never see that again. I was thinking back a few years ago when Arsenal went to Manchester City at the beginning of the season, and We were beaten 5-0, but Granit Xhaka was sent off in the 35th minute up there at Manchester City. There was no compassion there from Atkinson. Atkinson was the referee at the time. There was no compassion there. There was no VAR intervention. And I think Kovacic was very, very lucky on the weekend. And I noticed when he came out in the second half, we knew he was going to be substituted as well at some point in the second half. But his teammates were telling him, better be careful. Don't do anything. You got away with one in the first half. And the latest thing now, Howard Webb trying to rationalize all of these decisions from all of the referees throughout the weekend. And it's just kind of ridiculous, Howard Webb trying to put the narrative out there that Michael Oliver did not want to ruin the game by overreacting. That's a direct quote from Howard Webb. Didn't want to ruin the game by overreacting. The referee should take each and every verdict on its own merits, and each and every case should be on its own merits. And if, he obviously bottled it, right? There wasn't even any discussion or any thought process as to, I'm going to give another yellow card to Kovacic and get him sent off. Of course, Arsenal fans can say now, we beat Manchester City on merit. We didn't have a player sent off. But, I don't care about that. The referees need to start refereeing, start officiating, and doing things the right way. We saw 2 weekends ago, Liverpool Tottenham game, where they may have thought they overreacted and got some things wrong. They've gone completely 180 the other direction this weekend. So when will they get it right? It's either too hot or too cold for these referees. So how was Howard Webb doing his best Gordon Ramsay impression? If you watch that back and just think Gordon Ramsay, you'll see what I'm talking about. Don Juan asks, thoughts on English refs being hired to referee games in Dubai? I mean, they've, even if you take the idea of corruption out of it or being influenced by Manchester City and the parent club, even if you take that all of it aside, you have referees who are taking games in England each and every weekend, and to be taking the time during the week to go to Dubai, that's got to be taking time away from your profession, taking your energy away from your job on the weekend. So it's definitely, I think, a conflict of interest there, So that was the officiating on the weekend. Michael Oliver, one of the best referees, I believe, in the Premier League, but he's bottled it there, not wanting to change or alter the game that was finally poised. But you had one of our players, Jorginho, on a yellow card after 10 minutes. And if he'd have gotten into a tackle similar to Kovacic's on Rice, I wonder if the same pause for thought would have been applied by Michael Oliver. BX said here, I look back at the Xhaka targeting a little more closely now. The refs had a field day with him. Exactly, BX Gunner. He had like a target on his back. He had, the referees knew about him. His reputation sometimes preceded him, and kind of wasn't fair. And Granit Xhaka, I think, redeemed himself a lot in the last 18 months of his time at Arsenal. And we're going to talk a little bit about tonight the transition from Granit Xhaka of last season to Declan Rice and other players this season. Don Juan, first of all, Howard Webb comments were terrible too. He said, Oliver didn't want to ruin a big game. A red is a red, regardless of the occasion. And regardless of the time as well, Don Juan, if this offense If a red card offence happens in the first 15 seconds, it's exactly the same as if it would happen with the last minute of the game to be played. And you cannot you cannot worry about the game itself, the spectacle. If the players know they're going to get away with certain challenges, and I feel like in the professional game, players will always play to the referee, and in the first 2 minutes, the ref will tell those players by their actions how they're officiating the game. So other things that happened in this weekend, right? Tottenham, they were lucky to beat a Luton Town side, who clearly will probably get relegated with the lowest amount of points in the history of the Premier League. They had a player sent off, Basuma, and struggled to beat Luton Town. And Ange had to take his main players off, Madison and Son, yet again. And they're trying to tell us that they will go all the way and be in a title race. Absolutely ridiculous. Tottenham will not be there. If you look at Tottenham's record, they have played 4 of the teams in the bottom 6 of the league right now. They've played Bournemouth, who is in 14th place, I believe. So that's 5 games out of 8 they've played against poor teams in the bottom half of the table. They beat Manchester United, a really, really poor team. And one of those was through a controversial handball and penalty awarded. We know what we did against Tottenham in the North London derby. We really should have taken 3 points. Jorginho making that mistake, and we weren't great for the goals that we'd given away. The other goal that we gave away. So got ourselves into a position in the North London derby where we should have probably won that game. And of course, the other game, Fulham, we could look at that as well and say we probably could have won that game. So being a little greedy, we could have won all 8 of our games right now in the Premier League. But other things that happened, Chelsea ran riot against Burnley at the weekend. Are Chelsea back? That's what I'm throwing you out there. Are Chelsea coming back? Are they getting their house in order? Is Pochettino starting to get the grips of that squad? I know it's Burnley, right? Well, we go to Stamford Bridge next after the break, and I've got no fear going to Stamford Bridge. And I'm probably going to be one of the first podcasters to say this. It's going to be Declan Rice against Caicedo, and that will be mouth-watering to look at that and see. I wanted Rice all along this summer, and others, I think, Stan or Gary, probably could have went with Caicedo. They were not picky. But I wanted Declan Rice, and now we're seeing maybe the maturity in Declan Rice is maybe a bit superior to Caicedo's. Caicedo's got the stink of Chelsea. He's got to wash that off a little bit. But are Chelsea coming back? They ran riot against Burnley. Tony Turner is here backstage.
Backstage. I'm right here.
You're front stage now. Thank you for joining me. Did you feel sorry for me?
I had to run to the pharmacy real quick
Did you feel sorry for me going solo a little bit?
after I got these black freaking needles in my hands. I got
Needles. Needles. I don't like needles. Hello, Tony. Don
These were
Juan's in the house.
plant-based needles, right?
Plant-based needles?
Yep.
Oh, from like a thistle or something?
I thought they're just a little black plant about yay high. My dog had them in his paw the other day. Then I had them in my paw today.
Just bring you up to speed. You want to comment about Howard Webb and the officiating over the weekend on Michael Oliver?
Do we really need to talk about?
Nope. We can move forward. I just wanted to give you that opportunity.
Video hindrance replay. It's
video VIR VHR video
I've been
hindrance.
calling it that forever. I just don't know why they don't get rid of it.
Don Juan said, "Nah, I predicted 2-0 win against Chelsea. Arsenal will be near full strength. Chelsea ain't ready for us. I asked the question, Tony, are Chelsea ready? Are Chelsea turned the corner?
You never know with them. They can
Never know.
turn it one game, then they look horrible again.
We're gonna see after the international break, Declan Rice up against Caicedo. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted Rice over the summer. I think you were not worried which one we got, Caicedo or Rice.
I didn't care which one.
Other things that happened. I'm just going through what happened in the
I
Premier
was
League.
concerned about the other 70 million we spent.
Yeah, Kai. We'll get into Kai Havertz. Tony, Scott McTominay with a brace. Did he save Ten Hag's job?
Shut up, dogs.
Shut up, dogs. Did Scott McTominay save Ten Hag's job?
I don't know.
Don said, I would love Havertz to score against Chelsea, to be honest. That would be sweet, Don. That would be really sweet if Havertz would score against Chelsea. Liverpool failed to finish off Brighton, a 2-2 draw. Liverpool had a good start to the season, but now they're sort of starting to level off a little bit. Brighton have been struggling recently as well. Newcastle disappointed in a letdown game after the PSG win. So we're seeing maybe Newcastle getting up for those games, Tony, in the Champions League, but you got to go get back to your bread and butter.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think that's one of the biggest surprises probably of the seasons. The way they started out.
Newcastle.
Yeah.
Struggling a little bit. And then one of the other things of note, Aston Villa salvaged a draw after Nunes shined again.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think of Unai Emery? He's doing a good job.
I still like him. I'm not going to talk about him because you want to give me my 5 fucking points. So, fuck you, Ray.
That's got nothing to do with Unai Emery. Nothing to do with Unai Emery.
I picked Aston Villa.
All right. So yeah, listen, that's everything that happened over the weekend. Now, this game against Manchester City, Arsenal, Man City, we finally got that win that we needed. Now, I've got a little theory about AirPod Albert. You know, everybody's talking about AirPod Albert. Arsenal only really had this huge performance when Mikel Arteta was out with COVID. He wasn't able to be with the team. First of all, that was only for a few days that he wouldn't have been with the team. Secondly, the team almost beat Manchester City on that day, on New Year's Day. And then I contend next season, which was last season, we lost 3-1 to Manchester City, when we in fact played really well. Eddie Nketiah missed a couple of chances, and Tomiyasu had that huge mistake. And we only lost to that deflected goal through Jack Grealish. Here's my theory, Tony. We actually turned the corner a few seasons ago against City, and our performances have been much better since that New Year's Day game.
You're skipping over some 5-0 losses and stuff. But
away from home, yeah. But at the Emirates, we've been competitive against Manchester City at the Emirates for the last 3 games, albeit we lost 2-1 in the dying seconds in that New Year's Day game. And 3-1 was a little flattering last season.
What place did we get last year, Ray?
Second.
What place should have we got last year?
I think it's fair to say we should have got second.
No, totally disagree with you.
What do you think?
A, who's better? The new center back we got that we couldn't play because Rob Holding's miraculously better?
Kivior. You think Kivior would have been the savior?
No, I think Jesus through the season, but that's not a new point for me.
Which injury was most hurtful to us last season? Saliba or Gabriel Jesus? You know? Which injury was most hurtful to us? Which injury hindered our season so much last season?
It's the way we handle the injury. Is the point, right?
Okay.
Because instead of you go out, you buy the shiny new guy that's good enough to play this year, but he wasn't good enough to play when you got him on loan. If he wasn't good enough to play, why did we sign him?
Mm-hmm. Don
You
Juan
can't
says,
you can't tell me he's not better than Rob Holding. Come on.
we know that now, but that's what Mikel Arteta did, and unfortunately, it hurt us a little bit. You know what I mean? Don Juan said,
Two things killed
Saliba.
us, right?
Saliba. Yeah, go ahead.
The defense
What?
got forced, but I blame all that on Arteta. Don't blame it all on the injury. Because guess what? Same thing this year. You don't have cover on the left fullback position because your players are up. We got a new guy. He got injured. We've seen what happens when you have a defensive fullback there. But if you play Zinchenko there, you know what's going to happen? He's going to be bombing up the flank. Zaka
Yeah.
was bombing up the same side. You don't see Harvard staying back, defending. There's still not that person there.
Yeah, so I think Tony, we went out in the summer and got Yuri and Timber, so we did address that position, right? Uh, Injuries, like I say down here, consistency and injuries will be key now. So we have to live with that Yuri and Timber injury for another few months yet, until he comes back. BX said Kai scoring Chelsea would be perfect. That would be picture perfect if Kai scores. Nunez rescued your guy tonight, 2-2. Tony from Mr. Tom. Hey, Tom, Ray needs another panelist. Tom's probably very tired. Some news. Colorado Rapids have sacked their manager. Apparently, Jack Wilshere is being considered. Kroenke looking to bring in from your own company. And Jack Wilshere, that would be a good opportunity for Jack Wilshere to start out somewhere. BX said, when Timber comes back, I'd have him and White on each side. It seems to be,
that
though,
seems
that
awful early to be giving him, even if it's MLS. That seems awful early
young in his career, right?
because he just started getting his coaching badges, so that's kind of
Yeah, but I think we're starting to do this now. It's a little bit like Red Bull, the Red Bull family. You know what I mean? You get a young coach within the organization, and you send them to another branch of the tree, which Colorado Rapids are.
You went with the wrong team for that.
Red
Right?
Bull.
No, you said I went for a first example of it.
What is that?
Man City and their 15 affiliate teams that they're loaning players to.
Yeah. In
One
Dubai,
one
in
being
Saudi.
New York FC that a certain Patrick Vieira got to the playoffs. First year he's there with them.
Exactly. Wiltshire should stay at the academy, says BX. Look, I think it's an opportunity that Jack Wilshere needs to take. You know what I mean?
I don't know how much experience you really gain in the MLS.
Moss is here. Thanks for being here. A little bit closer to time, Moss. If you can adjust your clock back another 25 minutes, you'll be bang on. Oh, yeah, it's on. Howdy, boys, AFCC. Thank you for joining us, Moss. Is he 32 now? Jack Wilshere? Probably a bit older. I think he's got to be older than 32, maybe 36. Red Beatos. So listen, Tony, that's my theory.
I'm going to ask Siri a question and we'll see what she says.
Sure.
How old is Jack Wilshere?
Jack Wilshere is 31 years old.
31.
Don Juan, you were pretty darn close there. Don Juan at 32. BX said 30. So you're in between. Let's do the which one is it? The Price is Right. You can't go over, right? So maybe BX wins that one. You know, you have to guess without going over. So, Tony, have we shot down this AirPod Albert theory? Have I shot it down?
No,
Arsenal have been competitive against City for the last 3 seasons. We just got the win at home. You know, it took our
you're
third go.
forgetting a little away for him, right?
Away form at the Etihad is as bad as probably everyone else's.
And you're
You know what I
also
mean?
forgetting cup games.
If you look into it, Arteta now has won against Pep in the league.
Sorry, I'm firing my cameraman.
Fire your cameraman. He's zooming in too much. He's
I know it's like going over my head. It's like,
just set
you
it to
just see my
standard, right?
shoulders.
Set it to standard. Yeah. Look, so this is what I think anyway. AirPod Albert theory has been dispelled, in my opinion.
I'm not eating what you're serving up, right?
I think so. I sat here last Thursday night saying I think we're going to beat. I was pretty confident we are going to beat City. You know, I'm glad it's come through. A lot of Arsenal.
Some beamish, some potatoes, some corned beef. That'll eat what you're serving up, right? But
BX said we beat City more convincingly than we beat Liverpool last season. We've most certainly leveled up, even though we seem to be in second gear. The thing about being in second gear is because we've moved from being a dynamic team. We've moved from being a dynamic, young, energetic team to being a more controlled team at the back and in midfield. The difference between Granit Xhaka and Declan Rice, and that's not just the only difference, but we're playing a little bit differently this season, Tony.
We started off playing differently when we had the new guy at left back, but they're still going a little bit too far forward. Center backs are staying deeper, but you still end up.
Well, our style.
You still end up with Gabriel on an island because little Zinny Poo is too far up the pitch.
So you and Stan and you're all harsh on Zinchenko. I think he's very.
No,
cheerful.
I love him. I thought he was player of the year for 2/3 of a season last year. I thought it was his mentality and stuff, but it's not him. What happened? You would have Saka fill that hole. Other players would drop back and fill that. And on the right last year, you had Saka. That was part of his poor start last season. He's running his ass off.
What you're seeing, Tony? You've been a big champion of playing three at the back. And when Zinchenko leaves, Gabriel moves over into the left area of the field. Saliba controls the center, and Ben White controls the right side.
Yeah, but he's further up the pitch. It's usually a back two, right? Especially starting the season off, it was a back two. It's a back two when we're on the attack. It is.
So, are we playing? I think we're playing a little bit differently. I think we're playing more controlled football. We're not giving up huge chances. The strikers are not getting through to see David Raya as much as last season.
You try to get past
Willie, Big Willie,
Gabriel, and Saliba.
Big Willie and Big Gabby. Yeah, it's pretty hard to do that, right?
Two brick shit houses.
I as Moss said, good second gear means more accelerations to come. Possibly, but I think we're just controlling and suffocating teams so that we're not giving up those huge chances that are going to hurt us.
Right. You know? And Ray, you're conveniently forgetting that City had players out. City had returning players. So,
what players did they have out?
You know they weren't full tilt, Ray. Come on.
Who was injured?
They've had injured players for the last 3-4 weeks, right? Come on.
All right, tell me the players.
Ray, you've been doing this podcast. You know who was hurt.
And we've had players out as well, Tony. So don't diminish what we've been doing. You know what I mean?
Who we had out?
Bukayo Saka, Urian Timber, Thomas Partey for half a game, Martinelli for half a game. We had a lot of injuries.
But why did Saka get hurt?
Yeah, I talked about it at the start. The thing I'm annoyed about with Mikel Arteta is the 3 games leading up to this the biggest game of the season. He runs Bukayo Saka into the ground and he gets an injury. Don said
he's almost at 1,000 minutes.
Yeah, Don said biggest win in the season. We need to beat the champions to be considered champions ourselves. Tony, what this means now, a win over Manchester City means we are going to be judged on our consistency against all of the other teams.
That's the key problem.
I mean, it's the first problem we want, because the worst that can happen now is that we share points with City this season in the league. You know, if we lose at the Etihad, it comes down to the results against all of the other teams, and I feel much better about that.
What about losing points to Liverpool? That's happened to Spurs. I mean,
yeah, but City.
I don't think anybody has had 90 points.
No, and that's what I've been calling for, is a more competitive top 4, top 5. So these top 4, top 5 teams will be taking some points off of every team, including ourselves. We're not going to win every game.
We're going to be very close to where we ran off the tracks when we had 75 points. That was good for 5th.
What I will tell you, if we hit 85 or 86 points, that may be good enough to win the league. High 80s. You know what I mean? Don still gutted we couldn't beat Liverpool at Anfield. That 2-2 really hurt. It definitely did.
I don't see Liverpool dropping much.
They've dropped points in the last 2 games. They've dropped 5 points. Unfortunately, Tony, they weren't good enough to go to Brighton and get a win. They really needed that win. You know,
and we couldn't beat a team in 17th place in the French.
Who's that? Fulham.
Lens. We couldn't beat them.
I'll get the lens. I'll get the lens in 1 second. Tiger and Gunnar, good morning. Thank you for joining us from Australia, all the way from Australia. Yes, right. We have a different approach now since we've transitioned from Granit Xhaka. Tony, Lens, I think they brought an intensity to that game that we didn't want. We wanted this City game. Gary's not going to like to hear this, but players do keep their eye on the big games and don't necessarily turn up.
But you fielded way too strong of a team to lose.
We did field a very strong team, but it's the Champions League.
And I thought that was a mistake.
There's no mistake. They are not in the Champions League by mistake. They've earned it last season, you know.
Well, you can't ignore where they're at this year either, right?
And I don't know what their result was at the weekend, but I'm going to check it out now. And I would say Lens won at the weekend. Would you? What are you saying? Let me check it out. So Tony, I think this Lens game in midweek in the Champions League really, really taught us to it taught us a lesson. You know, we went back to brass tacks. We went back to playing basic football.
But
okay.
What happened?
Lens drew 1-1 with LOS with Lille. So 1-1 draw. But there you go. I think it was really important. The game against Lens, I think, showed us up a little bit, and I think it helped us against Man City because Lens really, really pressed us.
What happens for the next 6 weeks after this 2-week break, right?
Champions League and League.
We play 3 games a week.
Yeah. And Caraboa Cup. I told you last season, Tony, we were going to lose a game or two in the Champions League, but it's all about, it's all about qualifying for in your group, right?
I know it is, but I know we had Cinderos and all kinds of Chamak and all kinds of shit players play over group stages.
12 years ago. 12 years ago to standard, before City came in to the league and had all of these funds to bring their team up to spec. The league was you had to be a very average. You could be a very average team like a Shamak, a Marwan Shamak. You could play him.
Right?
Sounds like Schmuck. You could play him, and he would. You get top 4 each and every year. Now, Arsene
How
Wenger.
many points? Right. How many points did that Spurs team that got to the semi or the final of the
71.
Champions League?
71.
How many points did they finish above us?
1.
1 point, right?
See, I remember our conversations, Tony.
So it's down to luck. Luck of a draw.
Champions League. Yep. Yeah.
It's down to the manager managing players, right? Which we haven't seen yet. Minus the only thing he did good.
We have seen it.
Yeah, 1 time in the League Cup.
It's
that season.
We've seen it in the League Cup. We've seen it in this league game. He used the substitutes really well.
He does?
Yes, you're after seeing it. You're seeing it.
I've seen it 1 time, right?
You've seen it more than once. It's been more than once.
3.5 seasons.
More than once. Don Juan, Arsenal are pacing themselves. Last year we started too fast and ran out of steam. I think we came into the season not at full speed as well. And I don't think you can do that now that demands on players every season. They have to play internationals. Let's not get Tony started on internationals in summertime because he thinks they should play all the internationals in the summertime. Right, Tony?
Should we have weeks off in September, October, and November, right?
No, but that's the way it is set up. Like Southgate does the same thing as Arteta. Southgate is similar to Arteta. I agree, Don Juan. Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri for them, and we had Saka out and Partey in midfield, and Martinelli couldn't start. So that's Moss backing up what I was saying, Tony.
He could have started.
Which one? Martinelli? Could have, but it would have been a risk to start him for a full game. We're still undefeated. There's levels to this, Moss. We are still undefeated. We beat the best. Tottenham beat the rest. Tottenham beat the worst team and struggled to beat Luton Town at the weekend. We beat Manchester City.
But you know what, Ray?
Mm-hmm.
Who's ahead of the league?
Tottenham are. Do you know why?
Yep.
Okay, you know why. Good. So I don't need to tell you all the teams that Tottenham have played.
Something you told me that doesn't fucking matter.
What doesn't matter?
Well, it isn't totally true in this case.
Tell me then.
Well, it is in the tree, though. You told me goal difference didn't matter.
Oh, that was you. Don't forget.
But now it's 4 goals. It's how many you've scored is the difference.
Goals scored. Yeah. So
but it's still the same. It's still the same tree.
The third tiebreaker. Right? The third tiebreaker. But look, Tony, Tottenham have played 8 games, and 5 of those have been against teams in the bottom 6 places. They're in a false position.
Did we play a good Man United team? No.
We played a Man United team that's in the top half of the table. Maybe. I don't know where Man United are anymore. Yeah, they're just
I think we're right at.
I think they're just about in the top half of the table. We beat a Man City team that's the best around. you know. So we've gone into 2 interlulls in good heart, Tony, and it's better to be sitting here with a win. And look at Liverpool. Don Juan said Liverpool have issues defensively and at number 6. The Liverpool for me, and they got off to a good start, so I was wondering if they're going to be vying with Arsenal up there. But Liverpool are, for me, definitely the 3rd best team in the land. Spurs will be Spursy eventually. Choke, puke, elbow cough. Tottenham are like a Christmas tree. They come down in January. Nice one, Tiger.
Are you sure that's not Arsenal? I remember Arsenal being ahead of Spurs multiple times, but we ended up not getting in Champions League.
You're talking about 7, 8 years ago.
I'm talking about 2 years ago, God damn it.
Don said we were not focused for Lens. We had Man City in the back of our minds. That's what
we
I
won
believe.
5 of our final 11 games. So
Yeah.
we had a 75% chance to win the Champions League spot 2 times.
I think we're in a better situation. I think we're in a better situation, albeit just 8 games into the season so far. Don Juan said we weren't focused. There we go. That's what I believe. I agree with that as well. And the players are human, Tony. They're not going to put their
It's not
best.
the focus. It's still the same thing. You say it's different this year, but it's still not different enough. You're still seeing the center backs too far up. Zinchenko's not at left back. You're getting the main difference there is that White's staying back a little bit more, but lately he's been getting more forward than starting the season.
And
even though he was center back, but when he
really,
pushed it over there, he wasn't going as forward much at right back.
Shout out to Ben White for that nutmeg on Count Doku at the end of the game as well. Last game.
Why do people get so excited about it? It's not like you get points or anything from it.
It's a show
between
It's
somebody's
a show
legs.
piece. It's a show off move. You know what I mean? But it worked out. Come on, like that meme where Saliba elbows Haaland on the halfway line, and he goes down. You know, you can't argue with these things. You know. Let me just do this a second. I think so, Don. Good takes. You are the one and only Don. Okay. Let me get back here. I'm back.
How's that true when my middle name's Don? Come on.
You're the Don Juan. Who would you have given the Don Juan to for the Sunday game?
I don't know, it's kind of hard to say.
Well, Stan gave it to Martinelli. Gary gave it to Martinelli. I gave it to Declan Rice.
Rice was more consistent the whole game. To me, it's hard. Even if he played half a game, it's hard for me to give it to a sub.
I agree with you. Even though he was the game winner, scored the goal. Tom Juan said Rice or Saliba. There was a lot of strong performances Sunday. Declan Rice was huge. Saliba, we love Saliba against Haaland. Haaland's XG was
but
in the bin.
Gabriel was the one that was going up against Mr. Haaland more.
I think Haaland switched from one side to the other trying to get change out of either one. He didn't get anything out of any of them. You know what I mean? So as the ball would come right side, he would peel away from Gabriel and go toward Saliba. As the ball came to the left, he'd peel away.
Of course, you don't do that because you've got a void on the left.
On the back post, yeah. BX said those fuckers are still Claudia Reyna, Santa Cruz, Stephen Ireland, Thomas Cook kids. Tony, my guy, Tottenham fear us. We don't ever fear Tottenham. There you go. Tony, Don Juan is telling you. You better listen.
How many times have we finished ahead of them the last 8 seasons? Once. So
Tottenham have played three of the promoted teams. There you go.
I'm not gonna talk shit about Spurs until we finally start finishing ahead of them every year like we should.
Like we should. We did it last year.
Yeah, the first time in
7 years.
Seven.
How many times were we above them before that? 22 or more. You know?
Right. Were you excited to go 8 years without St. Tottenham's Day?
No, I won St. Tottenham's Day in my life. At some point, though, you have to say it's nice to have St. Tottenham's Day, but we can't stay at their level.
There were seasons we were getting at that. We
have to look above them.
In February, we would celebrate it.
Mm-hmm. United supporters had to watch City and Liverpool win shit while they've been terrible. I'd die if Spurs win anything of importance. And that's what I was worried in that Champions League final. I was worried that they were going to win one. You know what I mean? And we need to get to that level. We'll talk about that in a little bit tonight, maybe. What would it take for us to win?
This season, we're expecting them to be last season because they signed all those players. They just never bought into the system. Spurs, they bought tons of players last year.
Yeah, but you have to have the right manager who's going to set the tone. And I think Ange is doing that for them now. You know what I mean? Albeit short term. I think the dog got one of your cheeses there.
Yep, I lost one.
If you drop it, he gets it, right?
Yep.
Arteta and the young guns always improving and adding depth and growing. I can only be positive when that's happening. All I can ask for. But now Champions League, just win all your home games. That's all I ask. This is key, Tony. Before the end of the year, you manage your group, you manage your Champions League group, and you get to a position where you're going to play in February. Agree?
But are you not to be pissed off or worried or upset that we end up going into Pot B because we finished second in our group?
Yeah, I will be. We were in a situation where our group, the points are going to be shared a lot. You look at Lons. Lons are only 1 point ahead of us. We're on second place on 3 points. Lons have 4 points. Sevilla have 2 and PSV have 1. We have a crucial fortnight coming up, Tony, or maybe a month, where we're going to play Sevilla away and home in consecutive games. Sevilla. And that will be key to the group.
Yep.
You know? And we have an away tie as well. I have it on a banner here. I'll show you. It's the Hunt for Red October.
You can't do that again, right?
It's October.
Can't do it again.
Don't tell me what I can't do.
do Pink October because it's Women's Cancer Month.
I could do that. We've beaten City. When we come back, we play Chelsea away from home. We go away to Sevilla. So we got a couple of tricky away games there, Tony. And it's going to be the league and it's going to be the Champions League. And both games are going to be very important.
Speaking of Pink, I wish we had the women's third kit instead of our third kit.
It was nice. It reminds me a little bit of a Liverpool or United strip from years ago. If you know, you know.
Madrid's had quite a few like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the Milan teams.
BX said it looks like we can go one better this season. We got to be consistent, BX. We got to be consistent. And that means beating Chelsea when we come back. This group of Arsenal players needs a Champions League, and I believe we win one in the next 4 years. Under Mikel Arteta, we got a real chance of winning dare I say it, a Champions League. But let's win the league first for the first time in 20 years this season.
Still say we have more chance to win Champions League than
Well, here we go again.
the
We're sort
title
of
this
saying
season.
this is like a Europa League versus top four conversation we had in the last 2 or 3 years, and both of them are going to be tough. The winning Champions League is going to be as tough as winning the Premier League.
I don't think it will be as tough.
A lot of quality. So far, we just kept getting better finishing positions, beating teams we couldn't. So we just hopefully do one better this year and win something big. I believe we're going to win something, Jose. We're going to win something. Me too, Don Juan. With that one Champions League coming, man, if we had that one versus Barca, we were the best at that time. Tough one. That's a tough one. I've never rewatched that game in the Champions League against Barcelona, 2006.
And I never rewatched the one where Van Persie couldn't clearly hear the whistle.
That's been proved. Well, maybe it's not been proved, but strong suspicion the referees were being bribed, and those are the allegations against Barcelona at the time. Moss said man of the match was between Rice and Saliba. 3 stars like hockey. I like to do, Ray. 3 stars like hockey. Agreed. That Lehmann sending off and that offside goal. We were just holding on. It was 71 minutes when forgotten his name. The Dutch player used to be with Celtic. You know him?
I know you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
Saliba, Rice, Martinelli. I'm sure the chat box will let me know. Are you going after a fly or something?
Some type of bug.
Okay.
Dead now.
So you talked about the players of Man City didn't play. Well, they had injuries, right? They had Rodri and they had Kevin De Bruyne. You know who they kept on the bench as well? Doku and Grealish didn't get on the field. Those players were not trusted against Arsenal at the
Something
Emirates.
was disturbance in the force, right?
Yeah, Gary says some say Doku are going to be good. But I don't rate Doku that much. I don't think Van Hooijdonk. I think it was Larson. Larson was the player. Swedish player Larson, exactly. He's the one I think who scored the equalizer in the Champions League. Henrik Larsson was brilliant.
I really thought it was that good.
He was a good player, non-stop sprinting, that dude. But we held on till the 71st minute, and then we conceded that equalizer. We were a man down, and we were dead on our feet. And that was a heartbreaker to lose Champions League in that fashion after 12 minutes with Jens Lehmann being sent off. I suppose in hindsight, Tony, you maybe let them score, right?
How many referees
don't go down to 10.
Called that penalty?
Well, it was outside the box.
It doesn't matter where it is. He barely clipped the guy.
I know, but in hindsight, if you're Jens Lehmann, you keep your 11 players on the field, you go a goal down, you still have 80 minutes to play in the game. You have Thierry Henry, you have Perez, Lundberg, Bergkamp, all those players, I hope we get into a situation again where we are looking to win a Champions League, being in a final. I hope that happens in the next few seasons. And a player like Declan Rice in your side keep this team together for a few years. Yeah, Don Juan said Bergkamp didn't play.
Were the two?
That's true.
Did we have a 2 Polish goalkeeper at that time, or is that a few years later?
No, that was a little bit later. That Sol Campbell goal was beautiful. I was in tears only for heartbreak. Yeah, Don Juan was a little tough. if we keep this team together, Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, get ourselves a striker. We're going to talk about a striker tonight. Declan Rice, find a party replacement. Saliba, Gabriel at the back, David Raya. I think he's
Yeah,
the better goalkeeper. Ben White.
they're already trying to woo Mr. Saliba away.
Yeah, woo, woo, woo. They can woo all they want. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't think Pep Guardiola trusted Doku or Grealish to play this game. And one thing I will give you props for, Tony. Last October, you wanted to play Man City last October when we were in good form.
Who else did I want to play?
Tottenham. I don't want to keep saying you were right about too many things, but I got to give you props when you are right about things. We were in good form last season, and we had to postpone the Man City game because of Her Majesty, right? Dying. Wasn't that the one thing that happened? And
Was that from her dying, or was that the
PSV.
week she died, or was it the week after for security reasons or whatever bullshit they want to say?
Yeah, it was for some reason. But I think it's clear to say playing Man City earlier in the season is a good thing, you
But
know.
we tried everything to play that game because we were to switch the Europa game around so we could, but UEFA wouldn't let us switch it, so we couldn't play City.
So
Arteta was wanting to play City, so
it seems like these games come down to when Arsenal play City. Last season, it came down to who needed it the most, and City got the wins on each occasion at the Emirates and at the Etihad. This one, the stakes were a little bit lower, only 8 games into the season, 7 games into the season. So we were able to get the win. That summer broke Henry, especially with the World Cup loss. He didn't come back that 06-07 season at his best.
yeah. But even if we won the Champions League, I don't think he would have stayed.
No. I mean, if you win it, but it would have been nice to win the Champions League with Arsenal. And then he could have gone because he was becoming the best player in a young team. And I remember that season, he would give Fabregas horrible looks if you give him the wrong kind of ball. Fabregas passed him the wrong ball. Jose Antonio Reyes.
But none of
Henry,
the Barcelona B guys did good when they went over there and played.
they weren't good.
I'm saying our players that went to Barcelona, none of them.
No, Overmars played well. Petit played well. It did. I mean, a lot of players are
I'm
gone.
talking about
Silvino,
I'm talking about from
Van
Henry
Bronckhorst.
on.
Don
Bennett. There are lots of guys that just didn't after that.
Don once said, "Good thing is we got one of our games against City out of the way." It's a big thing. It's a 6-pointer, right? So we stopped them from gaining 3 points. We took the 3 points instead. Famously, Liverpool used to say, I think it was Dalglish said, the only time you can do anything by your rivals is when you play them, and you only play them 2 times in the year. So that's the only time you can do anything about them. Last year, we had to play them twice in the second half of the season, and that hurt us. Leb, Song, Fabregas, Vermaelen, Van Bronckhorst. So a lot of players have gone to
Yeah, but like I said, none of them
Barcelona.
really did good.
But we just listed a lot of Song. He did good.
You think he did good there?
Mm-hmm.
Most of those guys were there 2-3 seasons, then back to wherever.
Tiger and Gunnar said we were supposed to play City in October last year, but I had to cancel it because of the Queen's funeral and King Charles anointing. That's why we played a midweek game in January against them. So was the reason. Overmars and Petit, another good example there. So there's been a lot of players have gone through Arsenal
Yeah, but
to Barcelona.
that was before though.
Sure.
Henri, Torre, all those guys, none of them did good. Or in fact, Fabregas wasn't even good enough for.
Henri won the Champions League with them.
Lots
Henri,
of those players did, but it wasn't because of them, right? I could be
well,
on
they
the
had
New England
Messi.
Patriots, but I
Yeah,
could have very little influence in them winning.
yeah, yeah. True. So, what do you think about the transition of this team, Granit Xhaka to Declan Rice? We look different this year.
He should have never been there.
I know, but he was Granit Xhaka, and he was a huge influence on our team.
No, he wasn't.
Last season, he was. You gotta give him props.
He was in a position that he wasn't going to cause us as much damage.
BX said Henri actually helped them to a treble. You know. Yeah, he was playing in that left eight position. Has he been? But he's been the player over the last 2 years that has performed the left eight better than anyone else, Tony.
Disagree.
Granit Xhaka has been the
He
player
was
who
dropping back. He's dropping back into the fullback position. Last year, he was going into a number 10 role, or a lot of times a number 9 role,
yeah,
because he was
no, he
more
was
forward than
last
every
season,
player on the team.
Tony. Last season he was not dropping back into that left back position.
He
That
should
was
have
the
been.
season. That was the season before he was doing that.
I know.
But
I just said that, right?
he was doing that
You're-
from a double pivot. He wasn't doing it from the left eight. You know,
It doesn't matter where he's at. He was dropping back into that.
he wasn't doing it last season.
I know, and that's why we didn't win.
Yeah,
If you're paying attention to me earlier in the show.
that's why him playing in the left eight was a big reason why we did win.
You don't think Smith Rowe could do that?
I think he can do it, but Smith Rowe didn't play last season.
You don't think Zinchenko could do it from that?
Yeah,
We had four
Yeah.
or five players last
but
year that could
who has played
did
it?
it better than Zaka.
Who
10
who
times
has
better than Zaka.
Granit Xhaka has proven in the last 18 months.
How many
that-
times did we get him a Champions League because of Zaka?
That's true. But the team,
How many times did we not get into the Champions League because of Zaka? That's a high number. Him and Mustafi.
that takes a
Paralyzed
little bit
him.
more. That takes a little bit more research. You know,
I don't have to research. I can name 10, 15 points their first 3 seasons together.
Did we not? Did we not get in the Champions League purely just because of Xhaka, or because of the quality of the team around them combined, as well? You know,
Zaka wasn't good.
I agree with BX here. Xhaka wasn't the reason for not making Champions League. That's a cop out. The quality of the team is the reason for not making Champions League.
Right.
Yep.
Is he a defensive midfielder?
No.
No.
He's defensively aware.
Is he just a regular old midfielder, vanilla, plain as you can get? Yep.
I think you're outnumbered here. Don Juan and BX sort of agree with me that the whole team was rubbish. If the quality of your whole team is not good enough, you won't get into Champions League.
We had good enough. We had a lot better players than we had from 2006 to 2016.
We were playing Lacazette. We were playing Pepe. If you rate him or not, we were playing Pepe. We were playing
Lacazette was good.
Willian. We
Lacazette
were playing.
scored 3 goals in the
We were
first 3
playing
games of his season.
David
Then he got benched.
Luiz. We were playing Ceballos. You know, we didn't have the quality of players we have now.
Right.
I'm listening.
3 goals, 3 games. Do you bench a striker while he's on form?
Do you talking about Lacazette?
I'm talking about Lacazette.
Okay. That's history now. Well, it's just you can't delve into history that much. We're just saying the quality of the team was not good
Lacazette's
enough.
way better than all the other ones we had.
We
Maybe
didn't.
you could argue Giroud,
Granit
but
Xhaka-
Giroud was because
Granit
he came
Xhaka is
to-
not the sole reason why we didn't get Champions League for
him and
6 years.
Mustafi has enough points between the both of them for those 4 or 5 seasons to clearly keep us out.
Xhaka's goals still have not been replaced. True. 7 goals, 7 assists last season. Nobody's on pace for that from the left 8 yet. Not being replaced.
Then moving around, you got Odegaard, you got Saka.
There you go. Don Juan says, I got PTSD just thinking of that team. I'll give you some names. Peter Cech, Lichtsteiner, Cedric, David Luiz.
They're better than the guys we had in 2014, 2012.
What was the guy's name? Papa? Socrates? Mustafi? Colonel Mustard?
We had
Granit Xhaka.
Japanese players that never played a game for us. Come on, Ray.
Granit Xhaka. Who else, Tony? Who else is in the midfield? Ceballos.
But
Torreira, a good player.
that's when they
But-
started buying players.
Lacazette, Pepe,
They were
Aubameyang.
buying better players.
Aubameyang was the best striker for 2 seasons. Went off a cliff after that. So look, Tony, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we were not the best team around.
Okay. Everybody thinks Mesut Ozil was the best number 10 that ever fucking strapped boots on. And he was only good with Sanchez. Sanchez was only good with him.
Yeah.
They go away. How many goals does Sanchez score at United?
1, if I remember correctly.
How many did he score the next year when he went to Italy? 3.
More than 1
Three of them, right?
in the whole season.
And in the league, 7 in all competitions.
Xhaka was blasting in 25-yard bombs on the regular and bringing steel to the midfield. That was
No,
last
he
season.
wasn't. He was kicking him in Rosette.
That was last season. He was doing that last season, Tony.
Well, what the fuck did he do other 6 seasons?
That is a fair question to ask and true. You know what I mean? So on Sunday.
Ray,
Mhm.
well, I'll get off this real quick. You look at you put all our midfielders in a row. You see Saka there. Are you picking him for attack? No, you're not. You're not picking him over Smith Rowe, Odegaard, any of those guys.
I personally wouldn't, but Mikel Arteta picked him and told him,
He gave him a role because he wanted to be a defensive liability.
give him a role. He gave him a role. He said,
Because why, Ray?
well,
'Cause he made the
2
team
reasons.
worse.
2 reasons.
Worse. He made the team worse in defense.
Well, listen to me. 2 reasons, Tony. He needed to transition to a single pivot. And Partey was going to be that single pivot. So there was no room for Granit Xhaka there in a double pivot. We needed to transition. He told Granit Xhaka, either you're going to do the role or I'm going to find somebody who will do it. So he gave Granit Xhaka that opportunity. And you have to be fair. Granit Xhaka took that opportunity and excelled in that position.
And
Early in the season.
Do you know why we ended up with that position, Ray?
Why?
Because we went to the Portugal tree way too many times.
The Portugal what?
The Portugal tree. We kept saying, "Oh, he speaks Portuguese. He can get along with our Brazilians that speak Portuguese." We had two failures that came from Portugal.
Which are Cedric,
No,
Fabio.
come on, Ray.
Who's the Portugal failures? Just tell me.
Come
David
on, Ray.
Luiz. David Luiz.
No, no.
Who?
Who went to France?
Saliba.
No,
Oh, you're talking about the tank, right? Kolasinac.
no,
He's not Portuguese. Just
no,
Phil.
Ray.
Who?
He was there last year.
I
Who
don't know.
was playing left back, but he's actually
Tavares.
yes.
Okay.
Who else likes to be called Monsambi Lakanga?
He's
Also,
Belgian. He's Belgian. You're leading me up the garden path here, saying two Portuguese players. One was, you were correct with Tavares. The other was Lakanga, a Belgian player. Xhaka is better than Emile Smith-Rowe. They've different qualities, in my opinion. They have different qualities. I think Granit Xhaka has got more physicality about him, and more stamina, maybe more running.
he's not an attacking midfielder, Ray.
Emile Smith-Rowe can get you goals, more goals than Granit Xhaka would, but they have different.
How many goals did he get us coming off the bench at the 70th,
10.
80th minute?
The internet Xhaka agenda will never sway me. 10 or 12 goals, Tony. Imagine if we still had Xhaka this season. I doubt anyone would be upset.
I
Yeah.
would be.
Well, if you have Granit Xhaka this season, when Partey and Rice are fit, who's not playing? Xhaka's probably not playing. And I don't know if Granit Xhaka would have been the type who would sit on the bench too much, especially being 32 years old, coming toward the end of his career. He wants to play. We do miss
Better
Xhaka's
question is if
leadership.
Timber was healthy, who would be playing the left eighth position?
Left back. Timber, left back, right?
No, Timber would be playing left back. I'm saying who would be playing the left
You really
eight,
think
because
you would push Zinchenko up there?
that's where he plays, right? He was cutting across the left.
Not for Arsenal.
He was cutting across the left all last season. That's why
Yeah.
you had an
He's
island
inverting.
there. That's why
Inverting.
you had an island.
Inverting. Inverting.
It's not inverting. They're running fucking inside, right? He's running right behind Zaka. Then they'd hand it off to Zaka. Then he would continue running. Then he would cross the ball. And then you know what happened from there on, right? Come on.
Tony, can we win the Premier League for the first time after 20 years this season? I know you
And
guys-
depends what school of does he go with what he did in the League Cup, or does he do what he's been doing in the Champions, playing way too strong teams?
Talking about the Premier League here.
I know, but I'm saying he has to substitute and rotate these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel cannot play 4,200 minutes. Saka's on pace to play about 4,400 minutes. Can't do that at 21 years old, right?
For one, I believe we can do it this season, but we got to obviously, like you say, we got to rotate and be sensible about the teams. Maybe not put 100% first 11 team
But
in each game.
and Lens, you can't start off with Nelson for at least 45 minutes. If it's not working, then you can change. Come on. He's good enough to beat those types of teams.
Don one's got a question. Partey and Rice, who plays 6 and who plays 8? Partey's the 6. Rice plays left 8 for me. And that I've been talking about a double pivot against the top 6 teams. I've been talking about a double pivot against top 6 teams. I think Mikel Arteta has learned from last season. He's playing a double pivot out of possession where Rice and Partey are together in midfield in that double pivot. And I think that's important when we play top 6 teams, home or away. Tony?
I still think Rice is staying back more.
He is.
And what happened at the start of the year? You didn't have a double pivot. You had your supposed defensive midfielder.
But you're not
right
listening. Back. You're not listening to me. I said double pivot versus top 6 only. In the other games, you do not need a double pivot in the other games.
Do you need Thomas Partey playing as your right back?
No. But there must have been a reason.
Was there a reason Granit Xhaka played there twice and we lost both those Europa games?
I believe Mikel Arteta knows what he's doing. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why he told David Raya to hold on to the ball on Sunday. We were all not happy about it as Arsenal fans in the moment, but there's a reason why.
But what have I said before? You probably haven't heard it because I've mainly been on Gary, not in your show much, but he catches the ball. Ramsdale punches it out.
Okay.
And so many times it gets ricocheted back into the back of the net. Statistically, Ramsdale is one of the worst keepers in the league. But the fans are tricked because he's shouting, screaming.
It depends. I think when you look at statistics, you will look at certain sectors of stats that back up what you're thinking. You know what I mean? BX said Rice is the number 6. You're not going to get it, Tony. Rice
I got
is
it both times, right?
Rice is a 6. Partey is a sub. We need a solid number 8. Moss said it's best in big games. We have Partey, Rice, Odegaard, but Rice can play 6 just as good, if not better.
But Odegaard's at 8 that can play 6.
No, Odegaard's not playing 6. Stop.
Odegaard dropped back lots of times to cover that hole.
You're not telling me Odegaard can be a 6. Stop it. Stop. We're gonna be like Gary now. Stop.
Go rewatch about the first 15 games of last season.
That's the problem the squad has. Our starting 11 is flawed because of the Havertz shoehorning. We need a player that's going to thrive in that left center midfielder. And I think we're starting to get a team now that's bedding in and settling in.
Smith Rowe, they can't play there?
They could, not against the top 6 team. The PRO midfield, Partey, Rice, Odegaard midfield. Vieira, Emile Smith-Rowe can do jobs there. When you say can do jobs, that means against the lesser teams, mid-table teams, lower than that. Tigers telling you.
Those are the teams.
Get it right, Tony. Teams. Get it right, Tony. Come on, fix up.
What?
Partey won a title under Simeone as a sub-bench player, part-time starter.
He's never been good for us. Never.
They knew I had to get the best out of Partey BX because I think they limited his minutes as well. And we're starting to maybe understand Partey. Maybe a little late in the game, but we're starting to understand Partey.
We haven't even got a full half of the season for the player that we thought we were buying.
24 games is the max we've ever gotten out of him. Honestly, what was he thinking when we bought Havertz? I always back our players, but this guy's poor. Tony Havertz, Kai
70
Havertz.
million wasted. I could have went to a striker.
Okay, but now we spent it, right? If you buy something, if you buy something like a big bag of rice, let's say a big bag of rice, and you wanted wild rice, but you got brown rice, you're still going to use it, aren't you?
I still like brown rice. You used to just say white rice. That would be like Zaka.
White
Zaka's
rice
right.
would be bad for you and I because it's spikes your blood sugar too much. Be careful with white rice. But the analogy stands, Tony.
That's why I order beef lo mein.
We need to use Havertz, and we are starting to use him now. Is he
Yeah,
better?
he needs to be in the League Cup and
Well,
the
is he?
championship
He
qualifying.
let's he played in this game. He came on. Now, is he better as a number 9 in that role?
Oh, I think he's the same as the other 15 forward players that Chelsea's bought the last 3 seasons that are just shit.
Can we get a tune out of him at number 9 up front? He played quite well against City late in the game here. Don Juan said I was willing to back this guy Havertz, but I still do, but he's so shite. You know, I still maintain he laid that pass to Martinelli just to get rid of the ball, or else he would have spun the defender and had a shot. No,
He's one of those guys. Take
You're
him to one of the Milan clubs. Take him somewhere in Italy. He'd do fine. He's not going to do good in the Premier League. Too bad of a start.
Moss said
It's just never to work for him.
this is the best squad we've had since 2006. Yeah, I said it. You know, and that's it's been too long. Arsenal being too long in the wilderness now. We're getting toward Liverpool proportions of the amount of years since we've won the league. So it's definitely time to be relevant again.
Yeah. We didn't have a whole fucking midfield of doom for 6 seasons because they were so good. You had Carzola, you had your lookalike Rosicky, you had Wilshire, you had lots of good midfielders. Yeah, Nasri was good.
Yeah, but you know, Arsene Wenger never really pushed the boat out. He never went and got those extra 2 players. Mikel Arteta, say what you like about Mikel Arteta. He's pushing. He's pushing.
He's
to get
getting the
those
full
players.
backing of a board, finally.
Yeah.
Wenger didn't.
Yeah, Wenger probably didn't. He had different circumstances
Emery
to
didn't. Who did
work with
Emery
him.
want?
Yeah,
Who did Emery want?
Emery wanted Zaha. No more passengers of Deadwood. Only players that want to be here and fight. You know.
Would we done better with Zaha than Pepe?
Probably. Yes, I would say so.
And Emery still has qualities, getting a lot out
We could have
young players.
We could have cooked with Zaha. It could have been good, like a Alexis Sanchez type player. You know, could have been that good.
He has something that we still really lack.
Pace.
We're still terrible on pace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think we're not going to be a counter-attacking team, Tony. We're not going to be a counter-attacking team. We would want to have pace. Don't get me wrong. Like when Liverpool.
Why wouldn't you want to be a counter-attacking when you got 2 brick shit houses?
Because we're a possession-based team now. Our possession percentages are in the 60s, if not higher. And will be
Yeah,
for
but there are
most
lots
games.
of times they're in the 30s and we win.
Martinelli, Jesus, Saka, we have pace. We don't have Martinelli's got pace, but the other two are not as fast. Zaha had fight, says Don Juan. You know. What the latest news, Tony? Striker in January. We're talking about Ivan Toney. There we go. Don Juan. It's almost like you're reading my mind, Don Juan. Thoughts on Ivan Toney and Pedro Neto links? You want to start, or will I?
I would have bought him this summer.
Huh?
I would have bought him this summer. I would have bought any striker. We wasted 70 million. So
You would have bought him,
I would have, yeah, I would have bought him for that.
Ivan Toney. So in
If we're
January,
to spend 70 million, we probably could have got him for around 40. Would be my guess.
no, they're talking about 60 in January.
How's he 60 when he's gonna be going into his last year on contract? Because they used his extension this year.
I mean, if
They
he's
used- he
gonna
would
be
have been
gone.
he would have been able to go for free, but they used the Zaka.
You're probably
rule.
talking about the summer of 25 then, when his contract is expired.
And it's,
He's probably got 18 months left, Tony.
I don't think so.
Check it out. Looks like you're reaching for your phone there, right?
So hard to. Can you tell the guys in the chat why I don't chat as much because I can only use one freaking hand now?
Okay. Well, you just told him.
Well, you can tell them about my hand. You seen it?
Tony's hand is pretty fucked up right now. He's like Chris Elliott from that movie. Do you serve potatoes like that? Do you, Tony?
I probably could right now.
His hands. I mean, it's not as bad as Chris Elliott. For what was that? What's that movie again? With
I
all
can
like
be a flying squirrel with this hand.
everybody's getting
See,
stoned.
look at it. Look at all that muscle gun.
Now, how did that happen, Tony?
It's called cubital tunnel.
Okay.
It's basic your ulnar, which is your funny bone, which is right in here. It's really packed and narrow anyway. So, like, I've been in a wheelchair so much, I'm resting my arms on the handles of the wheelchair, not paying attention that I'm putting so much pressure on that nerve.
God.
So now the nerve signal is all screwed up and it's eating the muscles away from my hand.
You see where like one unfortunate incident snowballs into another one. So, Tony, take care of yourself, please. Scary movie. Take my strong hand.
June 30, 25. Okay.
See, 25. So he's got 18 months to go on his contract. So
Valuation 50 million euros.
yeah, but it's going to probably take 60. We have, I believe we were negotiating with Brentford for David Raya. I can't imagine that we didn't mention Ivan Toney as well. Ivan Toney wants to come to Arsenal. There are some people out there saying Mikel Arteta would be adverse to bringing Ivan Toney because of his baggage. I don't believe that. I think that we would be crazy not to try and get Ivan Toney. Premier League proven. Some people disparage the amount of penalties he's taken, but he has. Last season, he got 20 goals in the Premier League. For me, this is a player. He can do it all. He's good on the ground. He's good in the air.
But
He's
that's
good with
all we
link-up
need from
play.
a striker. We don't need over 20 goals.
Mm-hmm.
15 to 20 would be plenty from a striker.
15 to 20 would be perfect. Some people say, why not spend another 100 million and go get Osimhen. But that's too much money, right? It's too much of a gamble.
It's too much when you went there and you spent 70 minutes on Kai, because would have got better deal if you went to Cobra Kai and got one of the old washed up karate guys.
There you go, Tony. Gabriel Magalhaes scores for Brazil. He did it.
He used to score a lot for us.
Yeah, he did. He would get 4 or 5 goals in the season. Yeah, let's go, Gabby. Now maybe he just has to concentrate on defending more.
Why does this Saliba get more?
I don't know. Somebody's got to stay at the back. So for me, Tony, Ivan Toney, and Tony Turner, I'm saying yes to Ivan Toney. Let's get him.
Like I said, I would have used the Kai money and got it done.
Cobra Kai. Use the Kai money.
It's what good is he doing them right now? None. You could have sold him for 70. You could have went and got a couple good players. They would have been better off.
Now let's switch to Pedro Neto, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Pedro Neto would kill it in the left central midfield role. Arteta wants. He's not shy. I see him on the right wing for Wolves. Can he play left center mid?
The thing is,
I think he's a right winger.
We got too many players that can play there.
I think he's a right winger, is he not?
That's what he mainly plays.
The last 2 games against Wolverhampton Wanderers, he has forced goals against City and forced goals against Aston Villa down that right-hand side. Now, unfortunately for me, I don't think we can get Neto and Ivan Toney together. So I'm going to say take Ivan Toney, and it would be great to get Neto, but I'm less interested in Pedro Neto.
I don't understand why you want to went with him to start with. It just
Don Juan said yes, he can play left, but he's been playing on the right wing this season. So even if he can play left, we have an embarrassment of riches of players who could play on the left. Emile Smith-Rowe, Declan Rice, Trossard, Kai Havertz.
At 23 years old, how much do you think he's valued at, right?
Neto, 80 million.
We're way ahead of his valuation.
So 50.
You're still high.
40.
You're still high.
No, there's no way Neto goes for less than 40.
He's valued at 32 million euros.
You see, the websites you're looking at are like, they're not right, Tony. They're just not right. You know
it's right, right?
Because you said so.
But to answer your question, his positions are main position, right winger, other position, left winger, and second striker.
Neto.
Yep.
Okay. I value the player. I just feel, and it'd be great to get him in. And it would be an upgrade on somebody maybe like a Fabio Vieira. I do fear for Emile Smith-Rowe a little bit. I'd like to see Emile Smith-Rowe get more minutes this season.
Is he that much better than Nelson? Are you spending that much more?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. We have a lot of players who could do what Pedro Neto can do. We don't have a lot of players who can do what Ivan Toney can do. So, for me,
because our main striker is not a striker. Jesus is not a striker.
No. And Eddie probably won't be able to do it either. That's why I would be more keen to push Havertz into that role. I think Gabriel Jesus would score quite a few goals in that position. Then
And-
it's a toss-up between Havertz or Eddie Nketiah. Who would score more? Who would
and you
score
say,
more in the number 9 position, Tony, given the same amount of games? Who would score more, Havertz or Eddie?
uh,
And
probably
chat
Harvard.
box.
I think it'd be him because you're to
Do
be being flanked by Martinelli and Saka and Jesus. So
you think Havertz would get more goals than Eddie?
probably.
Yeah, I tend to agree too, as well. Okay, what do you think? What did you think on Sunday? Let's get this one from BX here. And Don one. Send Eddie to Brentford and 40 million. That will do it. Yeah, I think they're doing quite well with Bueno and Wisa up front, and I think Brentford are probably proving they do not need Ivan Toney, and Ivan Toney's probably not going to sign an extended contract. I think Brentford are a smart club, and they will want to cash in on Ivan Toney when his ban ends on January 17th next year.
Just so you know, Ray, one Eddie and Kedia, which is really surprising.
30.
Right now is the highest his market value has been.
30.
30 million euros.
There you go. So you're saying Eddie Nketiah is just as good as Pedro Neto?
You're older.
That's why your website is not right, Tony. You know?
Facts don't lie, Ray.
BX said, I still think playing Havertz out of position is doing more damage to his
But
already.
what gets me is people like give Eddie time. He's already 24 fucking years old.
He's had time.
He's not a Theo Walcott. Look how many goals. People forget how many goals he scored.
Walcott's got 100 goals, 108 goals for Arsenal. But
do you know a player that had 56 goals? Which is probably more than Eddie's has in all competition.
What? 56?
Yeah.
Oh.
Who had 56 goals? This is when we had really shit teams.
Sanchez. Alexis Sanchez.
Nope.
Who?
He was a lord.
He was
Lord of London nightlife. He would tell players where to go spend their nights at.
Nicholas Bentner. BX said, I still think playing Havertz out of position is doing more damage to his already lack of confidence and our chemistry. He seems better suited to the role Ødegaard plays, feeding the attack and shooting.
But why?
Thank you for the comments, BX and Don Juan.
But to me, Ray, why can't he come in with 30 minutes ago and give Saka 30 minutes of rest?
He can.
Isn't that much better than him screwing up the team, being forced in the left eight that he's not good at?
100%. Yeah. I think we've seen Havertz play.
Do you have any doubt that Smith Rowe couldn't do 10 times what Havertz is doing there?
I have no doubt. Emil Smith Rowe could do it.
What about Teabag?
We just have a project, as Gary calls it, in
what about
Havertz.
Teabag?
Yeah, I think Teabag could do well as well. Not as good as Emil Smith Rowe, but he could do well.
What about Zinchenko?
Zinchenko, I wouldn't.
It goes that direction, right?
I wouldn't play
runs
Zinchenko.
Inside to the right.
Huh?
So he runs inside to the right, which is what
I agree with you.
There, so
I would not feel as confident with Zinchenko. Was watching a Theo Walcott compilation. He scored some good goals for Arsenal.
But you would be more confident with him than you would Kai. So.
Yeah, I think we've now seen Kai play against Man City, the best team in the land, twice as that number 9, and he's not disgraced himself. He's done really well, and he's frustrated the back four for Manchester City. So Tony, Mikel Arteta brings Martinelli on. I'm sure you've seen this on Twitter. He brings Martinelli on, and the 3 substitutes he brings on play a big part in the game-winning goal. Partey, Tomiyasu, and Havertz also.
Yeah, but that was mostly down to Martinelli, who would have started if he wasn't injured.
Yeah.
I mean, pre-game they said he was good for 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
How about Tomiyasu playing left back in the left back position, and Doku went to the other side. So Tomiyasu was maybe told. I think that we've seen Arteta saying get close to Havertz, and so Partey has something to hit. Tomiyasu and Havertz. We put some height into that back four. We put some height up against that back four with Tomiyasu and Havertz, and it worked a treat. Partey's ball. Route 1 football almost. Partey's long ball to the tall guy, Tomiyasu, the knock down the Havertz, and BX says he's convinced Havertz would have tried to shoot if he could have turned. The only thing he could do is lay that ball back to Martinelli.
The thing is there, Ray, you have a defender at left back, not an attacking midfielder, which Zinchenko is. He's not a left back.
What defender left back? What are you talking about?
Tomiyasu has been playing left back, sir.
I know, but Tomiyasu is playing left back, but he steals up front. He goes up front for the goal, you know. He gets close to Havertz, which I think was an instruction from Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, because he tells everybody to play the same way. It doesn't matter what player comes in, you're going to do the same thing.
Well, we don't. No, Zinchenko. Zinchenko plays that role, but he doesn't get into the box. So you have to utilize your players.
He got into the box constantly last year.
Not
he's
in the
basically
box.
Dribbling the ball.
I've never seen Zinchenko in the box. I've seen him on the edge of the box a ton.
Because you already had Saka there, so you don't need to go there if you already got a player there.
BX said we added a ton of height to the team, which makes us more imposing.
Interrupt you. Last time I'll do it for a while. What did we do? We overloaded the left side of the pitch.
Yeah.
But we left this giant void on the left side of the pitch because there wasn't somebody covering for the left back. Thus, you had Alonso, who thinks Gabriel's like the worst defender ever we've had in 2 decades.
Yep.
He's the best defender I think we've had in
Alonso doesn't like
mid-2000s.
Alonso does not like him. We added a ton of height to the team, which makes us more imposing. So Pep Guardiola has played 4 defenders across his back four. He's got defenders and fullbacks.
Four center backs, sir.
4 center backs as his defenders. We countered that by late in the game putting probably our tallest players, Tomiyasu and Havertz, up front to win the ball. So instead of going around Man City, which is very difficult to do, getting to the byline and pulling the ball back, which we tried to do that earlier in the game with Gabriel Jesus.
What did you say us do at the end of the year there?
We've gone route 1.
We started doing the 4 center backs at the back.
We started doing it as well. Yep. With Partey as right back as well. Ben White dealt with Doku too. Nutmegged them also. Tony's not a fan of that, but it was nice. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that. So Tony, our closers, Mikel Arteta did well with substitutions. maybe part of that is because we had to play, we had to play Georgina, we had to play Nketiah, so we weren't full strength to start the game with, but we were able to put some good players in there toward the end of the game. Some of our first teamers, especially Partey and Martinelli. Martinelli able to finish off that shot as well, taking a huge deflection off Ake's face. Manchester City fans complaining about a deflected goal, but they don't complain when Jack Grealish has a shot to go 2-1 up a year ago at the Emirates, or earlier this year at the Emirates, with a deflected shot off Tomiyasu.
That's one player I don't know why we never went for.
Jack Grealish.
Ake. Right.
Nathan Ake. He's a decent player. He
He was a Premier League proven. Did they get him for free? I think, didn't they? Because I think his contract.
No, it cost him about 40 million. I will say, and I've been saying this preseason, I think Man City are not as strong as they were last year. They haven't replaced Gundogan. I don't think they're a year older, and players like Kyle Walker are a year older, even though Kyle Walker is a good player. A quick word about Kyle Walker and Haaland at the end of the game. Did not like them trying to be Billy Big Bollocks at the end of the game. Did you see that stuff going on?
Yeah, but don't you think Pep's about ready for something else?
He could be. He could be close to it. I mean, you win the treble. What else is there to do? You got to do it again, right? And we know this City team are dangerous. And we know they can go on runs now, especially in the new year. I think before the game, Pep was talking about you get yourself into a position in the league early in the season so you're close. You deal with your Champions League group, make sure you're qualified for February, and then you really go for it in December and January in the league, and you try to get moving before
I
you
think
get
what
into
problems be is all these teams didn't make up enough ground on City with the injuries. Not as good a start as they would have wanted. It. I think it's and then bite them in the ass because they didn't do better.
I think we've taken advantage of their problems. They lost to Wolverhampton Wanderers. They lost to
And
being beaten.
Spurs definitely have. You said I haven't played anybody, but it doesn't matter when you're collecting 3 points.
Mm-hmm. So we're about to. Alonso's coming in. We're about to wind up pretty soon. Alonso, how we doing? Are the Phillies winning?
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right. 3-1.
Boo.
Boo, really?
I've been a lifetime Braves fan. Come on.
Braves suck. Tony.
Sorry, Tony. You're going to be sad tonight.
They went from worst to first, and they were
Who
in there all
cares?
the time. I care.
Who cares?
I care.
Park it, Tony. Park it.
I was watching them when they were winning like 30 games a year.
Yeah. So, Alonso, we were probably going to be winding up in the next 5 or 10 minutes anyway.
And how many games would that mean they were losing, right?
I don't know. Where's the rest of the boys today, right? Stan is still
they play
feeling
162, so that means you're losing 132 games.
Stan is feeling a little bit under the weather still, and Gary is it's back to school, so he's taking care of family business. So I started the podcast for a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Tony dropped in, and now we got Alonso here. So we're going to finish strong. You know what I mean? Finish strong, and that's what Arsenal need to do now. Alonso, what do you think of the win over Man City? A big one at the weekend.
Yeah, 1-0 to Arsenal, right?
1-0.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like we were up for it, despite our injuries. It seems like in the past they they've been kind of worried about what's going on. They've been too concerned about who played where and all that. But I was surprised, honestly, as a fan, because we've been let down before so many times, and we've had the teams to do it. It's just that a matter of the mentality block that Arsenal sometimes have playing these bigger sides, or the fellow top six teams rather. Um, but yeah, I mean, one thing that I always worry about as an Arsenal fan is the left side defensively, whether it be that being the, the left side with
Megalesh.
Magalhaes and Zinchenko not being focused enough and not being able to clean up their mistakes. And also a different setup with those two because they were up for it. It seemed like they knew the plan. They knew that to put their past mistakes to the side and just go for it. And at first I was kind of scared because what happened with their offensively. In the first 10 minutes was kind of topsy-turvy there a little bit. It was kind of like, well, which defensively we were great, but we knew that something was going to happen. And I think that also what scares me as a fan is that Raya's ball handling skills a little bit with the touches and his clearance of the ball. That's worrisome to me, at some points of the game. But he got better in the second half, and very impressed. Really, I think that we took it to them. Though Kovacic's fouls on Havertz and Rice didn't get a red card, which I think you guys talked about, or at least you did, Ray, about the missed red card there. Which I think as Arsenal fans, you always get, I guess, not the way we wanted to as far as fouls go. Like, I think some people were saying if that was Aaron Xhaka doing that to the opposing team, then he'll bring red card right away.
Yep.
Just, which is kind of shows you how referees and VAR still suck. When they call these fouls. Other than that, the second half we really pushed them more than we did in the second half.
Sorry, Ray, I have to tell you something.
And so, yeah, and then Arteta made the brilliant substitutions at the end with Tomiyasu, Partey, and Havertz, and it was led to the the goal rather, and Martinelli coming in as well earlier in the second half. So he finally got it right, the substitutions, and they're very happy about the result, obviously. But
yeah,
in my opinion, it was a team effort defensively.
100%.
But Saliba and Megalesh holding at bay was pretty impressive also.
Who's that Haaland guy? I never heard of him. He's some kind of bum. He's not very good up front at all. Huge
trying
team
to
effort.
figure out when Jack Wilshere turned
Huge
black.
team effort, Alonso. Exactly. A great win as well. Tony, that's Jack Wilshere, and then you got two pictures of Bukayo Saka and is it Reece Nelson?
No, it's Balogun saying
Balogun.
he's better watch.
That's the quality of journalism you're dealing with right now.
But that's the video. The video is Balogun a watch riding on a bet with Saka.
So Jack Wilshere is in line for the Colorado Rapids job.
Do you know why he's in it?
Yeah.
Because Hancock owns Colorado Rapids?
Yeah.
Nope, that is not why.
Yeah, it is.
It kind of is.
The reason they used an article is that he won the under-21 FA Cup in his first year coaching last season.
Okay, hand on heart time. I'm gonna put my hand on my heart and say Arsenal have beaten Man City. The worst we can do is tie points with Man City. and it comes down to consistency against the rest of the league. Are Arsenal going to win the league for the first time in 20 years? I'm going to say yes, we can. Tony, I think you were a little bit hesitant when I asked you earlier.
I'm going to stick what I've been saying. Either win Champions League, then us winning the league.
Okay, so we're not going to win the league, but we could be competitive in the Champions League. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay, Alonso, the league title, can we win it for the first time in 20 years? Or will we win it? Will we win it for the first time?
I think so because, Spurs will bottle it somehow. I think City had our own issues with Kovacic. I don't think he's all that great, as you saw on Sunday.
Yep.
They had their own issues, which is good for us. But City will always be a good team no matter what. As long as Pep is in charge, they'll always be a machine.
Yes.
We just dented a crack in their arsenal, in their machine, right? I think.
No pun intended.
I didn't mean to say that. It just came out. But yeah, like I said before, I mean, they had the money. I think it was Seth Fabregas. I saw an interview with him on YouTube, and he mentioned that Man City will always have the money. They always have Pep Guardiola. It seems like now, until both of them are not there anymore, the money and Pep, they're still being a good team. And Arsenal are now found out how to play them.
Yes.
But there's a falsehood in what
exactly right, Alonso.
KFC's made out of Mrs. Money and Mr. Money. They have the same amount of money that the city owners have. So,
Tony, they don't spend their own money. They don't spend their own money. They
because we don't know how to sell a player to save our life.
We're sustainable. We buy and sell within our own means in a sustainable manner. So that's kind of a moot point.
We get money for a Wobie ox.
Mrs. Walmart does not lend money to Mr. Kroenke.
She owns some of the teams, like Avalanche.
That's not Arsenal.
And Kroenke does.
Nope.
Yes.
That's not Arsenal. Irrespective, that's not Arsenal. And we're only concerned about Arsenal here. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think we have a great chance to win the league. I mean, I think City are vulnerable now. Teams, when teams fear you a little bit less, they're going to come at you a little bit more. And that's what's going to happen with Man City. Something's up with Haaland, but he will start scoring again. But it's been a few games now since he scored. He will be back. He
can go to Germany and score a lot there.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna close out here, but like a quick word about Arsene Wenger, Alonso. It's 27 years since he took his first game for Arsenal. Away to Blackburn Rovers, we won 2-0, 2 Ian Wright goals. But talk about the legacy that Arsene Wenger has brought to the club and what we're seeing today because of Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, I mean, back then I wasn't a supporter of Arsenal, but from what I've heard and read and seen, he basically transformed the way soccer is being played with the old Wenger ball. And, people were like, who's this unknown from Japan and France? Right? He goes to Japan too and then France or whatever. People were shocked that a club like Arsenal can go from George Graham to Bruce, what's his name? Rioch?
Bruce Rioch.
Right. Bruce Rioch. And then now to Arsene Wenger, which was an unknown manager at the time.
Yeah.
And to have, start up with Alex Ferguson, it's pretty cool. But, he brought a lot of people that weren't superstars it made them superstars like Henri, Bergkamp, Vieira,
Petit,
Fabregas, Van Persie.
Overmars, Pleb.
Even later on in his career, like Sanya, like Clichy, and Rashiki, and even homegrown and Fabregas, and then he brought in homegrown talent like Cole, like Wilshire, Fabregas also. So yeah, he's done a lot of good things, and I think Arsenal fans should always remember what he's done, and we what his legacy continues to do. You see a bit of Wenger ball in Arteta's game too, in Arteta's style of play too. So you see all his former players talk highly of him. It's funny because like when they leave, they regret it right away. So though later on his career, he really didn't. He messed up a lot, but then whenever we had managers like Emery, we wanted him back, and I think some fans didn't really appreciate him after he left, which is also kind of unfortunate. But he brought a lot to the game. I think him and Alex Ferguson had a good rivalry there. And in the day, they became friends. And I also like how he got in the dust up with Jose Mourinho as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, all in all, he's a great man. I think he's a good humanitarian too. I think, like I said, all his former players talk highly of him, and most of them were like his father figure too. So yeah.
Yeah, look, when you're talking about all of that and through the history, and Jose Mourinho reminds me of how we weren't able to beat teams like Chelsea for many years. We went a long time not being able to beat a top 6 team, but that's changed in the last couple of years through Mikel Arteta coming through. And I think Mikel Arteta is a student of Pep Guardiola and a student before that of Arsene Wenger. So hopefully he's going to, as he matures as a manager, he takes more from Arsene Wenger and the Wenger ball, as you mentioned, Alonso, and the Arsenal way of doing things than he does from Pep Guardiola. And I think we're seeing that in the style of play.
I never understood how Arteta was getting the coaching badges from us, but never for 1 second tried to stay. He was like, I'm going
The
to City.
academy. Yeah. And maybe it's his ambition to go and learn under Pep Guardiola. I mean, we've seen all the players down through the years not being able to pass up the opportunity to play, work under Pep Guardiola.
Do you want to know?
Hmm?
Do you want to know a shocking fact from Sunday's game?
Yes, I do.
How many goals? How many shots did City take?
1.
That was 1 on target. I took 4. 4 being the least of his 425 games in charge of City.
The lowest.
Lowest.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of those games, and I think we took 12 shots. A lot of them were not on target.
2 on target.
Erdegaard was very, very wasteful in his shots. But we got the result at the end of the day, and a huge result. But I
think he's getting tired too.
Erdegaard. Yeah, I think we're in this situation now largely because of Arsene Wenger and the dynasty he started with Arsenal, Wenger ball, and we play football the right way, I believe. You know what I mean? Don Juan said still very sad how Wenger left the club. It could have been done better. I just don't think we were around very well at the time, Don Juan. And you see the teams that have success are the teams who are ran really well from the coach, manager, director of football, and the ownership. And those teams win trophies. The likes of Liverpool, the likes of City. And we're trying to join those ranks, you know. So, Tony, anything else to say about Arsene Wenger and the style of play, the influence he's had over the club in 27 years?
I still just I liked it because of the style we played, but also you've seen all these 16-year-old kids playing. You've seen Walcott get called up to the England at 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me mad that fans like shit all over him, but he still scored a ton of goals for us. He was a good player.
Mm-hmm. Tiger and Gunnar, thanks for being here. Pep had money for his medals. Wenger didn't have money for his medals. That's the difference. Yeah, I think that's true. And
but the thing is, Wenger went to shit when you didn't have leaders.
Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Listen, we'll get out of here. Tony, thanks for joining me tonight. Alonso, thanks for joining me tonight.
The Red Crew.
You're welcome.
The Red Crew.
The people in chat box, thank you for joining us tonight as well. Live or in playback. Hope you're enjoying the show. Tiger and Gunnar is here all the way from Australia. Don Juan was here. Thanks for being here. BX Gunner, Moss from across the pond. Check those guys out. They do great watch-alongs. We had a few others in here. Yes, I'm going to scroll back as much as possible here. Scott Kirk was in the house as well earlier. Mr. Tom made a very brief announcement of him being here, and thank you for that being here, Mr. Tom.
I think he just commented about me being here and left the building.
He's stalking you, Tony. He's stalking you. Yeah, so listen, that's it. I know it's the interlull. I know.
I feel like I spent half my week with him. I just like.
And now he's stalking you. I know. I know it's the interlull. I know football is being put. We're putting football on ice for a little bit here. We won't have a show on Sunday because there's no football. Be here, back here next Thursday, Tony, Alonso. If possible, I would try to do a predictions podcast. Would that interest you? Yes, Alonso.
From now on, you need to have a show with me and Tony, and then have a separate show with Stan and Gary.
I know why you're doing that.
I think Ray got tired of me talking.
I know why you're saying that, Alonso. I know why you're saying that. But yeah, that could happen. Yeah, you could. It could be a team effort that way. Definitely. All right, listen, we're out of here. I know it's the interlull. Hey, isn't it nice to be on an interlull on the back of a win, Tony?
No, it isn't. Like it. I had a logistic question. Some of other leagues are really close to starting in September. Why don't we just start in September and give them instead of stopping it twice?
What are the other leagues that are starting?
No, but they start later in August. They don't start the first week of August like we do.
Look at that. I would love to go to Bali myself, you know. Tiger and Gunnar, I won't be here next week. I'm away on my holiday in Bali. Listen, have a great time. Be safe traveling, Tiger and Gunnar. Hope you have a great time over there in Bali. Yeah, so if you're up for it, Tony, you actually we're going to talk about last year's predictions, which you featured quite well in.
For the third year running.
BX Gunner had some good predictions in terms of points total, and we'll put some new predictions together for next Thursday. Alonso, take care of yourself. Thanks for joining.
See you guys.
Can
All right.
I retire after my Triple Crown, right?
You can retire. Retire from what, though?
From the prediction, the season-long prediction.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. All right. Play the outro. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next Thursday. Come on, you Gunners.
Did I play the intro first? Like you did last
No.
time?